What's the most regrettable financial choice you've witnessed someone make? Went to Vegas with some buddies a year back. A friend of mine got super wasted and went on a generational tilt and lost to 5K. He borrowed 5K from us and somehow made everything back except $500. We were all calling it a night and heading up to the room, and he said he was gonna go smoke before coming out. Half an hour later, he came up and told us he tried to bet 1K because he wanted to be even up on the trip. Lost there. Bet to K to be even. Lost the original to 5K and 5K he borrowed. I used to prepare taxes. Dude got divorced, lost his house and kids. And then when he filed taxes, he owed like $250,000 because he cashed out his 401k so his wife could not get it in the divorce. That shit is treated as income. Dude lost all his deductions, and what existed across the table in front of me was a broken husk of a man. 0 is a very emotional number. Below that is panic, but after a long decline, the kind you never recover from, is a kind of forced acceptance. In 1995, I got injured at 11 years old and ended up with a settlement worth about $100,000. It was structured to release at age 18 and 22 and 30. My parents let the trust administrations at the bank invest it into safe investments. It included over 500 shares of Microsoft and many others I don't even want to talk about. I cashed it all out at 18. Fuck you, JG Wentworth. It was a few years of fun. It would have been worth way over $10 million now if I had just been patient. I went to school during the Bush administration, so several of my friends joined the military during college, or right after college. After basic, one of my good buddies came back with a brand new Mustang Cobra convertible on what I assume was a private salary. The interest on that motherfucker must have been pushing 20. Fun fucking car though, and he still has it 20 years later. Once he took me out on some country roads and got it up to like 130 miles per hour. About 15 years ago, a buddy of mine got his ass kicked in a bar by a frat boy. Turns out, the guy's dad was an oil executive and cut him a check for $250,000 to sign an NDA about the whole thing. So he proceeded to buy a brand new truck, then totaled it driving drunk a month later. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but insurance does not pay for that. He spent the rest getting drunk at bars every night and was completely broke in less than 6 months. Good friend rolled 401k into Roth, took penalty and pulled it all, took all savings and opened cash advances, and went all in on SIA Corny in 2021 at .035-ish over a 2-meter spot position. Subsequently, lost job, got on meth. He and his wife. She lost her mind, dug scratch sores all over body. He was wasting away. They divorced, yes. I told him beforehand to PLS not do this. I have a friend who just entered his late 30s, lives at home with his parents, and is single. He has no debt and saved enough money to potentially put a down payment on a condo. His parents convinced him to pay for their house remodel. His parents are Asian, and I suspect they pressured him into doing it. It is not a disaster of a mistake, but I truly feel sorry for him. A friend of mine received an insurance check for $1,000 to replace his stereo system that was stolen from his car. Instead, he bet all of the money on a hand at blackjack at a casino because, according to him, how often in your life do you bet $1,000 on one hand of blackjack? So, needless to say, his ride to work was a quiet one. Friends sold a valuable property over $1 million. Moved to a new state, bought a house for $350k with no mortgage, and then splurged the rest of it away. Expensive cars, expensive toys and furnishings. They just went nuts. They had to declare bankruptcy less than 2 years later. A family friend who is severely disabled gave $10,000 in 6 months to his girlfriends who are basically sex workers. He's very lonely and they took advantage. Not surprising that both of them ghosted him within a few months and didn't attempt to pay him back. I sold all my vintage Pokémon cards at a boot fair for £2 thinking they were worthless. Found out months later, I was sitting on probably thousands as I kept them in mint condition. Been years and still not over it. My coworker has a friend who buys everything larger than $100 on credit and winds up generally paying at least $50 more on his purchases because he's awful at keeping up with his credit card debt. Knew a guy that had a pretty basic truck with a camper top over the bed, with a $10,000 chandelier in it. When asked why he bought it, he replied, "Bitches love chandeliers." Saw a guy next to me drop $700 or so on blackjack and lose it after 5 hands. It might not be a lot to high rollers, but man, I don't make much, so that was insane to witness. A guy in my fraternity got $30K for an undisclosed reason. I'm guessing a family death or something. And he bet it all on the Yankees winning one game. They lost. I knew someone who got a loan for their wedding, but decided to blow it all at a casino. Now they have a loan for $20K to pay off, and nothing to show for it. I watched a man spend $3,000 at a club once. It seemed like he had a good time. I only spent $150. I was drinking and also smoked. Someone offered it to me. Gambling and investing. I always think it's a sure thing. That's the red flag that in fact, it is not. And I should sit on the decision first. Saw a guy buying a Lambo with a credit and he couldn't pay it off. I asked, "Why did you do it?" And he answered, "My girlfriend's ex had one." Total loser. The store I used to work at had a Western Union kiosk. We had to discourage so many people from sending money to people they didn't know. Get married to the wrong person. Someone who can't handle money well, or someone who divorces and takes more than they deserve. My dad used to sign us up for timeshare presentations to get free vacations. I witnessed many people decide to buy in. My parents putting all their life savings into Disney stock just before the big 2008 crash. That money is all gone now. Me selling all of my Bitcoin and Ethereum in early 2017 at break-even to put it in my retirement account. My elderly Phil spent $20,000 on replacement windows for a 2-bedroom condo. I was sick when he told me. Spending money on expensive cars, jewelry, clothes, boat, vacations instead of paying their house off. Wife's grandfather had $10 mil or so in PNC stock when the 2008 crash hit. That was a tough one. Myself paying tens of thousands for a wedding he bailed on the night before it happened. Warhammer 40K looks pretty fun. I'll just try buying a combat patrol ... I cashed out my 401K in the height of my addiction. Do not recommend.